Kakadosh Boker Tov. Just wanted to mention the Shulchan Aruch brings down that the Zman of Kiryat Shema is going to be until the third hour into the day. Now we know, how do we exactly get 3 hours into the day? So there's actually going to be a machloke between the Magen Avraham and the Gaon Vilna, which means that what exactly is considered day. So we know that according to the Shitat of the Magen Avraham, day is from basically Alot HaShachar, which is dawn, until dusk, until Tzet HaKochavim. So that is called day, from Alot HaShachar, right, until Tzet HaKochavim. And therefore what you do is you take the time of Alot HaShachar, you take the time of Tzet HaKochavim, you divide it in 12, and that's what makes you get a Sha'ah Zmanit, which means the time, right, the hour of the halachic hour. It's not the hour on your clock, because an hour on your clock is 60 minutes. However, though, for example, in the summertime, when you have that, for example, the nets, let's say, is going to be at 6:30 in the morning, and then you have the nighttime is going to be at 8 o'clock or whatever it is, 8:50 or 9 o'clock at night, so obviously you have much more than 12 hours into the day. So every single hour is much more than 1 hour. It could be even an hour and 20 minutes, and so on and so forth. Then what you have is the Sha'az Manit, according to the Gaon Vilna. According to the Gaon Vilna, he says, well, you do not take from Alot HaShachar, from dawn until dusk, you take sunrise till sunset. You take from the Netzach Hama until Shekiyah. And therefore, once you take from sunrise to sunset, which is from Netzach Hama until Shekiyah, that is called day. All the rest of the time is going to be considered nighttime. And therefore, according to the Gaon Vilna, it's going to be a smaller hour. However, though, even though it's going to be a smaller hour because now you've got much less time, you don't have the time which is from dawn, which is basically, dawn, remember, is what we paskin is 4 mil, right, which is 8, it's 18 times 4. Every meal is 18 minutes. That we know by the Shitat Maran, by Matzah, and by all of the things as well. So therefore, if you take that the meal is going to be that the Alot HaShachar is 4 mil before Netzach Hama, so you've got 72 minutes beforehand. Then also afterwards, how do you calculate the Tzet HaKochavim? That in itself is also an entire parasha in itself. However, though, what happens is that according to the Gaon Vilna, even though his time, his halachic hour is much less, right, still, it's not going to be that much less after the Magen Avraham for a very simple reason. Because when the Magen Avraham comes and he says, what is the last time to say Kiryat Shema? 3 hours into the day, you're taking 3 hours, halachic hours, after Alot HaShachar. According to the Gaon Vilna, you're taking 3 hours after Netzach Hama. And therefore, even though you're right, the halachic hour is going to be much less, you start later. So therefore, what happens is that according to the Gaon Vilna, that's always the second time of Kiryat Shema. So in the bulletin, when you come, you see the first time of Kiryat Shema, and then the second time of Kiryat Shema. Therefore, that's what you see. This is basically based upon the Shita of the Magen Avraham, and then you have the Balatani and the Gaon Vilna, which is the second Shita, which is very, very important. According to the Halacha, it's actually brought down that the majority of the opinions, they actually come and they hold, right, that we go like the Shita of the Magen Avraham. That's whether it's the Ben Ish Chai, whether it's going to be even Shitat Maran in a few places, brought down in the Mishabura. However, Rav Ovadia wanted to pass like the Gaon, but he says still lechatechila you have to be machmir like the Shita of, right, of the Magen Avraham. So anyway, lechu le'alma lechatechila, you still have to be stringent and read the Kiryat Shema before the first time of Kiryat Shema, and then you have the second time, which you have a little bit more what to rely on later on. Tomorrow we will speak about the ramifications to do with Shabbat, because for example, this Shabbat, right, if you do Korbanot at 8:45 is already the Kiryat Shema of the Magen Avraham. So therefore, you actually get into problems. So therefore, Bli Neder will try to explain how do we do on Shabbat, also what to do with the brachot of Kiryat Shema, whether how you're doing that as well, and the second time of the Kiryat Shema. So Bli Neder, that will leave Bezrat Hashem for tomorrow morning.